At Relentless Digital, we believe in breaking barriers and driving innovation. That's why we are extremely proud to sponsor the Power Women of the Trades podcast, supporting the voices and success of women in the home service industry. Together, we're creating a future where talent shines, regardless of gender, and diversity thrives. Join our journey at relentless-digital.com and always be relentless in your pursuit of excellence.
This episode of Power Women of the Trades is also brought to you by Forrest Perry of Forrest Perry Digital Marketing. Want to generate more leads for your service business? Trust his team to deliver quality new customer leads and protect your brand online. Check out perrymarketing.com today.
Hello everyone. We want to give a quick shout out to our amazing partner, Rilla, the game changer in the home service industry. Rilla's virtual ride-along software means no more physical ride-alongs. With Rilla, you can coach your team virtually 100 times faster and boost your close sale rates like never before. Don't miss out. Join the movement today and watch your sales soar. Visit rilla.com/PWT to learn more.
Welcome to Power Women of the Trades podcast. This show is all about breaking barriers and changing the game. Our guests will feature some of today's most successful female entrepreneurs and other advocates of our industry as well. Because if there's one thing we know for sure, female-led entrepreneurship drives change on multiple levels. We want to empower women in the trade industry like you so you can maximize your potential, stay balanced, achieve long-term success, and claim ownership over your life. Let's get started.
Welcome back to Power Women of the Trades podcast. Today, we have Sarah Hammond with Atlas Electric Air Conditioning, Refrigeration, and Plumbing with us today. And Sarah, immediately, I know you more from Women in HVAC than Atlas, which, I mean, that happens, right? Obviously, we all got started from that somewhere. So, well, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Super excited to be here.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
I love Sarah because I can tell you a couple things that I know about Sarah. Actually, just like the biggest thing about Sarah is she's always going to look good.
I like fashion.
She likes fashion, and she's always got these like really good, like nice suits. And I'm like, where did you get that? So I've like gone up to her at several events. I'm like, okay, I need the link to this suit. So I love that.
I love fashion and I love to share it. So
Awesome.
anytime.
Oh, that's
Thank
awesome.
And that, like, I love that because it's just like so relatable, but not to everybody, but also like HVAC and plumbing can be whatever you want it to look like. Right. And so anyway, so tell us about you, Sarah. Like with Atlas, I don't been around you several times and I don't know anything about, where are you from?
So I'm in McAllen, Texas,
Okay.
lower pit of Texas, like at the bottom, the tip, 15 minutes from Mexico.
Okay.
Okay.
And we're like 98% Hispanic in the area down here. That's just the culture.
Mm-hmm.
We've had the business for 42 years. My dad started it. He was a migrant worker in the field. He joined the Air Force, learned the trades in the Air Force, came out of the Air Force and came back to where he grew up, him and my mom. They were high school sweethearts. And he started the business down here. And so we moved from North Dakota, where we were in the Air Force, and we came back down here and we started the company.
So 42 years.
Wow.
How long have you been in the business?
Since we started in the beginning, I was 11 and 12 and answering phones at the house. I would work after hours, after school. I worked on the weekends. I would answer the phones, do the dispatching. My mom did all the financials.
Yeah.
Then she taught me the financials of the company, and I took over the financials in 97.
Okay.
So I started doing all the financials for the company. And then in 2004, we incorporated the business. 2008, I came in full time.
Awesome.
And tell us a little bit about your degree from Stanford in scaling businesses. I'm really curious to see how you got from like running the business, and you said 2004 to where you're at now.
Well, what made you do that? Because
Well,
you're right.
I was approached by Stanford. It's a program specifically for Latinos, Hispanic, that want to learn to scale business. So we're taught a lot about business. I grew up in the business, but to scale a business business is entirely something very different. The growth, understanding the growth mindset and how to grow it. So after I took that program, I paid for the program, I came out and I was able to scale our company by a mil within 8 months and continue to grow it from there.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like that because, so, I always say, like, no one gave me and Oscar the keys to this business. And I went to school to be a dental assistant, and I didn't do it because it was gross. And now I'm in plumbing. So that's fun. But like, I don't have a business degree and I'm figuring it out. And here, this many years later, I'm doing fine. Right. But when I reflect on myself, I've been like really reflecting, like, what could I do for myself? And I've really been considering some additional business classes on some programs like that. And I love to hear about that from you, because I think some people often get to the point, well, I didn't go to college and this is all there is now. Right. Or I'm doing fine. But I just think that it's like, there is a lot more to learn that we don't know, and just like you said, you were doing the business, you were in the business for what, like 30, 20 something, so a long time. I can't math right now. And you went ahead in 2017 and did that certificate program with Stanford. But the truth is, had you not been approached, would you have even considered that?
No, because what you don't know,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so you don't understand that there's all these different programs that are out there.
Mm-hmm.
But thankfully, I was blessed to be in the right circles that I was able, to have that program put into my lap. But that's why it's so important, I think, especially as women, to get yourself out of your comfort zone and be in different crowds.
Yes.
You cannot be around the same group of people, because you're not going to learn the same things from different people, right? And so it's just really, really important that you put yourself out there into the different crowds, into different programs, into different groups of people, because you never know what can be put into your lap and where you're going to grow from there.
Yeah, for sure.
I just think that's just an amazing nugget of knowledge right there. That
it really, because I can tell you that quality would have never grown to where we are today had I not found groups. Oscar says that all the time. He's like, if Cassie wouldn't have been like, hey, let's try this or let's do this, because I was on social media and found these groups of people and then went to those events and then the conferences and those types of things, we would have probably just stayed like small mom and pop size, because we didn't know any, that big business only seemed like it was for people that had business experience, and that's one thing this year that I just posted on Facebook recently. I said, I love all the industry events. We go to a lot of them, but Heather and I have been talking specifically for the podcast, which ones we'll go to this year. But also like personally for me and with quality, which ones will we go to? And I'm specifically looking for conferences that are outside of our industry this year, because our conferences are amazing. I love them. It's always great, but it's often the same people. And like you said, I need to be fed by a different crowd.
I have a great one for you. So I'm also part of Leadership Women. I did Leadership Texas, Leadership America, and Leadership International. Amazing experience. The groups and the programs that they put together, and it's an all-day class. Like, you're in class the whole day from 7 a.m. till 7 o'clock at night until you get back to your hotel room. It is an amazing program, and it just really fills my cup. So I'm an extrovert introvert. I like my alone time. I'm very much like, don't talk to me on Sundays. That's my day to regroup. I need to breathe alone by myself, without my phone, without people around me. But I also get fed from information and people. I love the learning aspect of it all, right? And so I go to these programs and it fills my cup. And then I'm able to give to other programs and other events and other chambers or other nonprofits and organizations. My cup is so filled with knowledge and programs and women. So Leadership America would be amazing for you guys. You guys would love it.
Yeah, we'll have to look into that one, because like Cassie said, we have been talking about which events we want to go to. And I think our key word at Quality this year is get ready to get uncomfortable, because we're scaling for growth, and you can't grow without getting uncomfortable and trying things that you haven't done before.
And being surrounded by different experiences. And, that's kind of a hot topic right now, because again, this is every industry. It doesn't matter. But normally what happens is every conference ends up being about the exact same conference. You just recycled the same speakers or the same story or the same whatever, because one conference did it. And then everyone's just like, oh, that was great. Well, it was. And I love hearing, like, there's certain people that I would hear the same story over and over and over. So there's definitely great things there. But what can we do to just keep like filling our cup fresh?
Fresh. And then you bring it back, and regurgitating it to your team gives them a new perspective as well, and kind of gets everybody on the same playing field to keep scaling, like you're very good at scaling the business to get bigger and bigger. there and still be able to manage that growth and manage the culture and manage the efficiency, but to be able to add additional team members, to expand the departments, and to take your business to the next level, I think is really important. And getting out of your comfort zone and meeting new people was great. This year was my first year at Women of HVACR, and I met so many women that I had not met before. I had either known them through Facebook or never met them at all. And just being able to, connect with some of those ladies and just, broaden, the knowledge base of people that you know and resources that you have to reach out to.
Right.
Through Women in HVAC, I've been able to get to know quite a bit of different women in the field and get perspectives from other states, ideas and concepts of different marketing options and opportunities that I was able to bring down to my company. So I really enjoyed the networking that comes through it. But my favorite to date has been Leadership America, Leadership International. We went to Iceland, met the First Lady, met the ambassador at Iceland, met so many phenomenal women, met the CEO of the museum and how she got started. Like just the stories that you hear from these women that are doing massive accomplishments all across the world is phenomenal.
I want to say, so how long, real quick, because you kind of brought that up for a second, how long have you been a part of Women in HVAC?
So I went looking for women in the air conditioning field organization online, and I found Women in HVAC. And I signed up, became a member, and I went to their first event, which was a conference, I want to say since it was before COVID, so it's 2018, 2017, 2018. Became a member because I wanted to find women in the field, because I like to dress up. I don't wear tennis shoes and boots unless I'm in the warehouse and I have to walk the warehouse or I have to get up on a roof. But for the most part, I like to dress up. We talked about that earlier. And so being down here where I'm from, mostly Hispanic, I had a really hard time becoming the president of the company. My technicians were made fun of. They were told, you're in Spanish, trabajas para una vieja, that you work for a female. Like, why are you working for a female? I just went through a lot. And so I wanted to find a home where women were applauded and a community for each other, because I didn't have one where I was at.
Well, I specifically asked that because I know we have a lot of listeners, and I just want to encourage our listeners to join the Women in HVAC, because I think over the past few years, I've watched it change, and the membership is so heavily manufacturers or marketing companies. And I think it needs a change. Like there are women, there are my friends, there are people that are listening to this that need to join. And that was what you were seeking after. And, it just like, it comes and goes in waves. But I know that there's women out there that I'm friends with. And I'm like, girl, I'm holding you accountable right now. Like, go join that and help in that movement.
I hadn't thought about that before, but you're right, Cassie. I think that there's a lot more that could be done to bring.
All those wives of the husbands that support in the business, that help run the company, who are part of Women in HVAC. And this is your community, right? This is a home for women to talk the same language, to ask the dumb questions and not feel threatened, to be around a crowd and say, this is a problem that I'm dealing with. How do you handle it? Right. And so you need to join. If you're out there, you're listening to the podcast, you need to become part of Women in HVAC.
For sure. And like I said, this last conference, I kind of sat around looking, and I have a lot of friends in the industry, and I was looking around like, where are all my friends? Where are all my owners and people that I know working in this business? And again, the women working in manufacturing and marketing and all of that are definitely loved, appreciated, and wanted. But I was really looking around like, where are my friends that I know are doing this and they didn't? Maybe you're not a member of the Women in HVACR group, or maybe you just didn't go to the conference. But just a reminder, shout out to that of like what that mission is for. And again, one of my favorite things there every year is the scholarship that's given the students. And there's just a lot of cool things that you can see that's happening in our industry that are more visible at that. So anyways, you kind of brought that up about why you went searching for that. And I, over the last couple of years, have just felt a little bit of a difference there of maybe not so many people doing the same. And I just want to remind us, like, slow down a little bit and join those groups. And there's great stuff from it. So
join your communities. It's super important, especially if you're in the HVAC industry, whether you're an office manager, dispatcher, this is a program for you.
For sure. So Sarah, what is like your day-to-day day these days?
Well, I've been sick for 6 weeks, so let's not talk about the last 6 weeks.
Oh,
But
no.
for the most part, I serve as the chair for the Hispanic of Rio Grande Valley Chamber. I also serve on the board of the partnership. It's also more of a legislative organization in our area. I serve on the South Texas advisory councils for the colleges down here, the technical schools. So I serve on as an advisory board chair for the HVAC industry down here. That's how you get employees and stuff like that. So that's a tip for everybody. Go to your technical schools and sign up as an advisory partner, and you can get a lot of the students, you can get a lot of information, and you can also help the industry, in training and stuff like that. So it's super important if you could do that. So I serve on different chairs, and I also own some other, Heather and I were talking earlier about leasing companies and businesses that we own, commercial properties. So I have an assistant that helps me with my other side businesses, and then I have an operations manager that helps me with Atlas. And so it's just a lot of different hats, and it just depends on the day, but I live by my calendar.
Yeah, I
can relate to that. I think
there's definitely
coordinating the calendars and trying to make things match up. Oh, I was just saying you get pulled in a lot of different directions and have to figure out time management very, very quickly.
One thing that was an aha moment for me, I was talking to a lady and she said, well, on Friday I have lunch with my child, right? And I never put my children into my calendar because it was always business flow and stuff. And when she said that, it was an aha moment. And I said, that's interesting that you put him into your calendar. She goes, oh, if I wouldn't put him in my calendar, I wouldn't be able to go have lunch with him at school. And that's not something that as a businesswoman, I personally thought of very often, right? If I could, I would do the day that they had for parents to go. But it's super important to put them in your calendar too. And so that was the tip I took. And I started adding my children lunch, just a random lunch, or pick them up from school early and take them to a movie or something with my kids. And that's been really helpful for me too. So I can give that tip out there to any female, put your kids into your calendar as well. And your husband.
Yeah, because, we think I'm really bad about that too. It's I go to the things that are assigned to, but then part of the reason why I wanted to ever do this was so I had that flexibility. But no one, that's the true unspoken piece of business ownership. No one actually talks about the American dream was supposed to be this and that and having and owning a business or whatever and time freedom. And it's I have the freedom of when I get to use my time, I guess, but I actually use all of it always.
70 hours. Yeah, you're working all the time.
And someone always needs something. And it's when you leave work, then you've got family, and I love them. But normally I'm just completely spent. Like you said earlier, I'm an extrovert introvert. So I am great. But when I've had enough, when I have said too many words today, when I have, I just feel like we have a max of words, when I have been needed too much or I've been on all day, I need a break. And don't talk to me, look at me, or I'm going to snap and then I'm going to hurt someone's feelings.
Yes.
And that's hard as a mom.
It's super hard.
Playing that role. Sorry, go ahead, Sarah.
The roles of a female are just so massive and they're incomprehensible to somebody that doesn't have children or doesn't have kids just because of the pressures that we put on ourselves and,
very, very true.
And the pressure of work, right? And so when you have those kids, I've been sick. My kid had a volleyball tournament in Austin. So I had to drive 6 hours away, sick or not sick, do her hair in the morning because she wanted me to do her hair.
Most businesses' online presence is boring. And by being boring, they're losing out on potential sales and customers. Being interesting and exciting is what draws customers in and gets them to buy from you. But it's hard to be interesting online when you're focused on running your business and taking care of your customers. It doesn't have to be this way. We have the key to unlocking the solution to your problem. Key Heart Marketing can help take your business from boring to brilliant on social media. We can vouch for them. They run our podcast socials. If you want to have a strong social media presence that allows customers to know, like, and trust you, connect with Key Heart Marketing at keyheartmarketing.com.
right? Do her hair, get her hair ready, and then go to the volleyball game, leave half of it early because I just couldn't. I was so sick. I had to go back to the hotel room and sleep, get up the next day and do it all over again because they're your kids and they're important, right? And so it's just...
I totally relate. Our daughter does competition cheer, and we are about to go into like this week, and then it's like 3 weekends of back-to-back cheer competitions, which means that every Friday we're leaving. They're out of state. We're traveling. I'm gone Saturday and Sunday. And then, oh, wait, on Monday, I'm just right back into work. Most of the time while we're traveling to the conference or to the competition, I'm working on an iPad or my computer or whatever. And that's fine. That's definitely, like, I say that with no complaint. But then, when people have a lot of opinions of like, she's always on her phone, she's always on her computer, she's always doing this, she's always doing that. And I'm sure you've heard that, right? And you're just like, well, how the hell did you think all this shit's getting done?
Yeah.
Like, and then I still want to show up for my kids, or I still want to do that. And as women, you're right. Like, I know for a fact, Oscar specifically is the best husband. He is hands-on, jumps in, does whatever, but he gives himself way more grace than I do. Or it definitely reminds me to give myself grace. Or maybe, to me as women, we make sure when something's happening, it's like the world's burning down. It's a priority. And I don't think men always do that, which I'm kind of envious of, because it's like, okay, it's just one at a time, where we're trying to do like all 72 things at one time and then just killing ourselves.
Our brain doesn't stop.
Yep.
So that's another big tip that I was given. Schedule your massage, schedule your pedicure. It takes me forever to get a pedicure just because I don't have those 2 hours on my calendar time, but I do, right? And so it's just a matter of, doing, like you said, take your laptop, take your phone, you're working while you're getting your stuff done. But that self-care is so important. And as I get older, I'm starting to realize how much my mother didn't have that self-care. That's one thing that I saw, that she never took care of herself. She always did so much for everybody. She was a superwoman. I always said, if I could be half of my mom, I'm going to be freaking amazing, because my mom was superwoman, but she didn't take care of herself. And so that's one thing that I've always told my husband. I'm going to have somebody clean the house. I'm going to hire a nanny to pick up the kids from school so that I'm not stressing during those times. So I have a nanny who picks up my kids, somebody who cleans my home. And that way I can concentrate on the games. I can make sure that I concentrate scheduling all the things that I like to do, but still schedule the important things with family time. And, not care whether the toilet was clean the way I like it or not. You know what I mean? Just get the job done, wash the clothes, somebody else wash them, put them together, and we'll figure it out and go from there.
Especially when your kids are young. And Cassie still has a younger one. My last one just moved out of the house, and it's the weirdest feeling. And it really made me sit back and reflect on how much time I spent working versus my son was a year-round wrestler. And he, go into those competitions, and I always looked forward to that. And this year I'm very much missing it. He's moved out of the house, and, wrestling's over. He's in college. And it really does make you sit back and think about how much time you spend. We just don't slow down enough. And I think that constant reminder to each other in our network, our friendships that we have outside of work, to take the time to make time for yourself, even if it's just a pedicure or a massage. And that's one thing that I struggled with for a long time, and I'm finally taking seriously the last 2 years.
Yeah. It makes me think of like how, everyone wants to ask the question all the time, like, how do you do it? Blah, blah, blah. Well, first of all, did I have another choice?
No, that's always like, how do you do it? You don't even think about it. You just make it happen.
Do it. But I go back, all of our great friend, Angie Snow, and she told me, we asked her that question on the podcast years ago. And she said, she asked herself, how can she win today? And win is what's important now. So maybe I have a list of 150 things I need to do, including something for my kids, something this, but what's important now? And, and focus more on those items. Something for me, it's still the beginning of the year. I have, because I'm so ADHD, I've tried to start making lists. And I even find myself like, if I did something that wasn't on the list, I'm still writing it down so I can mark it off. Because when you get to the end of your day and you're just like,
what did I accomplish?
What did I even accomplish?
Yep.
And so I like today specifically, before even recording this podcast, I did like 4 things that wasn't on my list, but I still wrote them down and marked them off because I wanted to be able to reflect later today of what I did. Because yesterday I left so exhausted and I did a lot, but I couldn't like pinpoint exactly what I did. And I was like, I got to go back to my list, If not, you just get there and you're just like, what did I do? I was just like unorganized chaos, but you really were.
You do a lot because your hands are touching so many different fires that come up, right? So it's like, what's controlling you? That's why I started living by my calendar, even including putting my kids kids in there and my husband, because I would do these things and then I'd be like, what did I accomplish today? Well, now I just look at my calendar and I can tell you what I did. I don't even know what I did last week, but my calendar does. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're better at that. Like, I'm really taking this wisdom from you right now, even though I'm using a calendar, but like, I need to remind myself these things because like, I was just simply looking ahead next week that I have a hair appointment and I got some extensions in my hair here. So that appointment is basically 6 hours. Okay. And I work the whole time from there, but I already looked ahead and was like, should I cancel that? Can I be away from the office? Even though I know that I'm going to work the whole time. And it's like, we're so bad, especially, I call it like high achiever syndrome. We are used to just go, always being available. And then just thinking, oh my gosh. And like, this place does not need me. Like my day-to-day at Quality these days, they don't need me to operate. Like I'm not talking to customers. I'm not doing that. In fact, like I don't even go to the huddle intentionally. Heather's in the huddle and she's like, you should probably come to this. And I'm like, I intentionally don't do that. I always know where we're at, but I intentionally don't participate in the huddle. So the team knows that they're running this without me,
And I love that. I love that. I mean, I would love for you to be in the huddle.
She's always like, you want to come? And I'm like, I want that to be like their reminder that they're running this without me. But then there's sometimes that I'm just like, maybe I should cancel my hair appointment because what if someone needs to walk in and ask me if they can what, aren't we so hard on ourselves as women?
We are. And, here's a little story about something that a friend of mine said recently. I have a longtime friend. We met each other through sports. Our kids grew up together and she has a catering business on the side and she makes tamales and salsa and street corn and all these amazing
Yummy
Mexican food. Very, very good, yummy Mexican food. And I haven't seen her in about a year, but she literally lives within walking distance of my house. And she had posted online that she had some extra salsa and street corn and some other thing, Mexican rice, if anybody wanted to come by and pick it up. So I knew my son was going to be home. I said, yeah. I said, I'll come over and get it. I haven't seen you in a year. I want to catch up. So I went over that afternoon and picked it up. And she said, Heather, she goes, we ended up spending an hour and a half talking. And she said, we're such good friends. And she said, we always talk about getting together, but we never follow through. And she goes, is that just the polite thing that we say to each other? Let's get together. We need to get together more. Mm-hmm. And I said, you make a really good point, Lourdes. And it was right before I flew to Oklahoma for the holiday party in the beginning of January. And I said, you know what, Lourdes, I promise you will be the first person I go to lunch with when I get home from Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. And she goes, I'm going to hold you to it, girl.
Yeah.
So I got back from Oklahoma and I sent her a message and I said, we're going to lunch on Friday. You pick the place. We're going to spend 2 hours, just you and me time, step away from work, clear your head. It's year end for me. I'm really busy right now trying to get everybody's books closed out, my own books, Cassie's books.
Yeah.
And we went to lunch. She had tears in her eyes, just happy tears. And she said, I am so glad that you followed through and made me get out of my house. She goes, this has been so good for my soul. And I think that we really need to remember that those little things that we make time for, it was 2 hours out of my day. You can find 2 hours in any day, but the memories and the quality of that visit with her for that 2 hours was worth gold.
Yeah.
So me and my girlfriends, we have this little thing we call Millionaire status. And we say, let's do Millionaire Day, where we are going to take off from 2 o'clock to 4, have some drinks, have some appetizers, just catch up on girl time, maybe do a little shopping, to some of the local boutiques to support local businesses. Cause she has several businesses and I have businesses. And so she's like, let's go support local business. And we'll do that. And we call it Millionaire Status Day because we act like we have nothing else, no worries, no problem, nothing. And
I love that
about us. And so we try to schedule it, and we normally schedule it. I put it on my calendar. Like we try to do it once every 2 months. And we put it on our calendar. We had it scheduled for this week and she canceled. And I'm like, we have to hold to it. Like when are we rescheduling? Because it's super important because it does feed the soul.
I'm literally about to find me a group. I'm calling it we're going to be the Kardashians for a day. We're going to pretend I need to borrow someone's credit card, but I'm going to be like, who could I borrow? But no, I love that because, we recently went to a marketing mastermind in Mexico. And while we were there, it was all inclusive. So, it's great. And so you kind of act like you're that millionaire status for the day because it's all inclusive. You're like, yes, I'll take another champagne. Yes, I'll take another vodka. Yes. But we scheduled a massage. And the whole time I was laying there, I was telling myself, and me and Oscar are both in there. And, you're supposed to be quiet. And they're talking to me. They're like, Miss Cassie, is this okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm not quiet. But the whole time I'm laying there, I'm like, babe, why don't we do this in Tulsa? There's a freaking, why don't we do this? Why don't I only wait till Mexico? That's dumb. And there's just so many things that I really appreciate this conversation, Sarah, and I hope that our listeners do too, like these just candid conversations of life, because we forget that every day day what we're doing so is someone else, but it's different every day. It's hard every day, but like we still need to prioritize ourselves.
And be intentional about it. That was kind of our goal word for the year is, running the business with full intention. And we need to do that in our personal lives too. Like that intentional thing. And I think the thing with the going to lunch with my friend Lourdes, when she looked at me and I said goodbye, the first time when I picked up the salsa, and she's like, we need to make sure we're intentional about this. And so for sure, when I got back from Oklahoma, I said, if I do not put this on my calendar, something else will fill it up. And I made this promise to her. And then she bought my lunch. I'm buying your lunch because next time it's my turn to make that year, and we're going to go to lunch and you can pay.
Yeah, I
just
love it.
To make that happen. I think we need to do that.
Yeah.
And I think all of our listeners need to remember we're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
We're all very highly driven professional women in the trade-based industry, and we need to make time.
Yeah. If you're listening to this podcast, you're driven, you're taking the time, you're looking for something in this podcast. Every episode that we have, you're looking for something to help further yourself and your career, no matter what position you're in. But I guarantee you're doing something you're not always taking care of yourself.
Well, maybe there's somebody listening to this one that's going to say, oh my God, I needed to hear that this morning. Or, somebody's reflecting.
It's like all your medical things that you need to do, that you need to schedule, that you don't. You need to make those priorities as a female and get your appointments done every year. Get yourself checked out, your mammograms, your pap smears, everything. Just make sure that you're checking your health, because at the end of the day, you can't take care of everybody. And I'm saying this because I was sick for 6 weeks on and off, and I barely coming out of it. But because I've been home so much, because I've been trying to get my immune system brought back up and not be around so many people, I've been home a lot more. And so my kids, they come home from 3:30, 4 o'clock, and they're like, hey, Mom, guess what happened today? And I'm hearing all these little nuggets of things that is going on in their days. And I feel so much closer to my children. And I was like, why don't I schedule at least 2 to 3 times out of my week to come home by 4 so that I get those little nuggets from them, even if I have to leave for another event afterwards, but at least I get that interaction. As you go through life, things happen to you, right? Stop and reflect on those moments and take in the good part of whatever it is that you're going through. Make something good come out of it. Being sick isn't fun, but something great came out of it.
Well, and then Sarah, why do you think you were sick for 6 weeks?
Because I'm so driven. And it was during the holiday time when people were finally at home, I could take a break, that my body just shut down.
Yep. Every time Leslie would talk about that all the time, of sometimes God slows you down because you refuse to.
Very true.
It never fails. She'll call me, like blow my phone up, and I'm not answering. And it'll be the day that I stayed home. I needed to just sleep. And I'm like, sorry, I was so sick, or I couldn't get up, or whatever, something. Right. And she's like, yeah, because you refuse to take care of yourself and your body. So about once every 6 weeks or so, I have a day that my body just shuts down. So maybe if I was more intentional.
Now you should calendar that day before it does and say, this is what you're going to do. So before, I would get up at 6 and be at my office at 7, and I would, I was just always go, go, go. So lately, what I started doing after I broke my wrist and I couldn't do all those go, 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 I started taking Mondays slow. So Mondays, I would drink coffee at home, watch Good Morning America, get myself cut up, take about 2 hours, and then get to the office a little bit later, get into routine and do my stuff. So that way I was like, you know what, I'm going to take my time that day, my 2 hours instead of running. And then if I have to run throughout the rest of the week, at least I had my one day. You know what I mean? And so little things that you intentionally need to put into your calendar for your time, for your kids, for yourself, because as women, I love to do a lot. I studied the human design. I don't know if you guys have ever studied it. It's kind of really cool, but I studied it. And some people are like, oh, you're just so busy, Sarah. I don't want to bother you because you just seem so busy. Well, my human design is I'm a busy person. That feeds my soul, right? And so now I understand it. It's not that I'm busy. I'm extremely productive and I get a lot done. And so those are just self-reflections that I like to have on myself.
Well, good. I love that. And I think it's important to reflect too, and see and give yourself credit for what you did, Sarah, I've really enjoyed hanging out with you. I feel like we could just keep talking for the rest of the day here. I think you have such a cool story. You're so influential. There's so many things you're active in. We're going to include your bio in the show notes and some contact information if anyone ever wants to reach out to Sarah. But I just thank you for being on the show, and thank you for continuing to be an advocate for women.
Thank you for having me. I was so excited to be here.
I can feel your energy through this recording, and I just think it's awesome.
Thank you. A lot of love.
This has been Power Women of the Trades. Like what you hear so far? Leave us a review on Apple and make sure to listen to our other episodes wherever you enjoy listening to your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.